Welcome back, Defenders. Jake here. Let's check in on Ukraine. Ukrainian drones target Moscow and the Black Sea Fleet. An attempted Ukrainian drone strike on Moscow resulted in damage, while a Black Sea Fleet corvette came under attack by a drone boat. So this is the new normal. Every time I make an update video, I'm probably going to have to mention the latest Ukrainian drone attack on Russian territory. There's nothing Russia can do to make these drone attacks stop other than just give up on this war. The saying is that if Ukraine stops fighting this war, there's no more Ukraine. But if Russia stops fighting this war, there's no more war. All Russia has to do is go back to their own country and stay there. Stop trying to steal their neighbor's land. So here's the CCTV video of the drone strike. This is the downtown of Moscow. I'll link it down below if you want to see the explosion. But the drone hits this expo center. Nobody was killed or injured. The damage looks relatively minor. So we don't know if this was the intended target, but Russia might have used electronic means to bring the drone down, and then it slammed into this expo center. But every time there's one of these drone attacks, all the airports in Moscow have to shut down, ground all flights. This is greatly disruptive for the economic activity of Russia's capital city. Moscow City attacked because it is Putin's symbol of prosperity. Moscow City is the glittering home to skyscrapers, leisure complexes, and Russian government offices, and is now the #1 target for Ukrainian drone attacks. So for the residents of the capital city who think they're one of the lucky ones living in Russia, the war is coming to you, and it's never going to stop until your military leaves the territory of Ukraine. Something to think about every time one of these drones flies into this downtown area. Additionally, for Russia's Black Sea fleets, I'm sure the sailors on these ships are a bit jumpy. One of these drone boats could come at them at any time, so being stationed on one of these ships, I'm sure you have to be vigilant 24/7. That tends to wear a person down, but more than likely these drone boat attacks will always occur at night, lower visibility, harder to intercept the drone. This boat drone attack was not successful, but there's always tomorrow night. Additionally, in the Russian seaport of Novorossiysk, this is Russia's most important port now that they can't use Sevastopol anymore, there was a huge fire in the container terminal, and we don't really know what caused this. Was this a Ukrainian drone attack? Were these Russian saboteurs? Was this just average Russian incompetence leading to a massive fire in their most important port city? We don't know. We'll never know. It's Russia. Additionally, last night, drone attacks on a military airfield in northwestern Russia. This occurred at Soltsy-2 Air Base, which is pretty close to St. Petersburg. So what the Ukrainians did is they flew a drone at least 700 kilometers in order to strike this airfield. And my guess is that Russia thought this airfield was safe and that their long-range strategic bombers, they use these to launch cruise missiles against Ukraine. They're just parked out in the open. So Ukraine successfully flew a drone and destroyed at least one of these long-range bombers. Now, initially, Russia claimed the damage was only minor, but then, of course, some Russian soldier took a picture. The picture got leaked online. We got confirmation that Ukraine just traded a drone, probably worth $30,000, for a long-range strategic bomber worth millions. So, this is going to continue. We cannot win, says top Russian commander. The leader of the Russian battalion, defeated at liberated Uruzhaina, calls for freezing the front after his unreinforced troops were devastated in a rout. So this is the language that the Russians are using. This is what the Russians want. Anytime you hear somebody in the West calling for a ceasefire or an armistice or a freeze in the front, this is what the Russians are desperate for, because every day they continue losing ground to the Ukrainian military. Russia is desperate for some kind of freeze in the conflict. So the Russian commander of the Vostok battalion fighting in southern Ukraine said on Thursday that Ukraine will not be defeated and suggested that Russia freeze the war along the current front lines. Alexander Khodagovsky made the candid concession yesterday on his Telegram channel after Russian forces, including his own troops, were devastatingly defeated by Ukrainian Marines earlier this week at Urozhaina. This is in the Zaporizhia and Donetsk border region. Can we bring down Ukraine's military? Now and in the near future, no, Khodorkovsky, a former official of the DPR, said yesterday. Russia knows this. They don't have the resources or the manpower, the training, the intelligence, the capability at all to defeat Ukraine's military. All they're trying to do is hold on to the territory they've taken and hope their puppets in the West will somehow undermine support for Ukraine. And something the last 2 weeks especially that has been devastating Russian forces are these DPICM cluster munitions. US-designed DPICM cluster munitions are massacring Russian troops on the front lines. This is according to Thomas Theiner. He has pretty good analysis on Twitter. He states, every country that signed the nonsensical cluster munitions ban needs to ditch it ASAP and get back into manufacturing DPICM rounds and rockets. It's the most important artillery ammunition. So yes, is there drawbacks and a downside to cluster munitions? After the war is over, civilians can continue to find these and die from them. But as far as stopping a genocidal invading force, yeah, cluster munitions, I argue, have their purpose in modern warfare. If it deters Vladimir Putin or other would-be aggressors, I do think there is a place for it in Western democratic arsenals. So Russia is desperate this month to just hold on. They're having regional gubernatorial elections on September 10th, and everyone universally is now stating that Russia is going to announce another large-scale mass mobilization. Prigozhin confirmed when he took the Southern Military District office, Russia is sustaining over 1,000 casualties a day, both killed, wounded, and captured. So Russia, coming up in a month after the September 10th elections, is going to try and mobilize another 300 to 500,000 men. And we have more evidence that this is the plan because this elected official in Tolyatti basically just said so at a factory in his oblast. So this politician is speaking candidly to the workers at this factory, looking for volunteers to join the Russian military. And this is what he told them on camera. For the city of Tolyatti, the plan to recruit 2,000 men was set. We recruited not much more than 250 people. This is 10 to 15% of their goal, depending on the district. If we don't recruit 2,000 people within a month, there will be a second wave of mobilization. At that time, you will not be asked. The military office will simply issue summons. Therefore, if someone wants to improve their financial situation now, to stop some judicial examination, it can be done today. So my guess is they're trying to entice people saying, if you sign up now, we'll waive any kind of criminal prosecutions against you, and you'll get a nice bonus. At this same factory, a military recruiter also spoke, I'll link this video down below from Chris O. But basically, the military recruiter is going to lie and make them all these promises, how nice they'll be paid, how nice they'll be treated, how much training they'll get before being sent to Ukraine, and how they won't be used on the front lines. All of this is a lie, but Russia's trying. Let's now get to the extremely sad news. I'm sorry, but we have to talk about this. 7 dead and 144 injured in Russian missile attack on Chernihiv. So Chernihiv is 40 kilometers from the Russian border in the northeast of Ukraine. And this city has been relatively peaceful for over a year now. The first 2 months of the war, Chernihiv had it the worst. Russia was laying siege to the city, but they never captured it. And Russia bombed the drama theater. They launched a $1 million Iskander missile to destroy a drama theater. These are the horrific pictures. There's lots of photos and videos online. Hundreds of people were injured. This is the heart of their civilian downtown. This was done on a holiday, a Saturday afternoon, when the area was packed with civilians. So for a report on the ground, John Sweeney made it to the city of Chernihiv.
Diary day 541. So behind me, the Russian missile hits Chernihiv in the northeast of the country. It's very peaceful. That's a kind of drama theatre place behind. And the rocket smashes into that. 6 people are killed, maybe 7 I think now, including a 6-year-old girl. She died of loss of blood. A policeman tried to save her, but it was too late. Part of the rocket, when it lands, you can see behind me, it hits this building here and smashes into it. So, how do we stop this, hey? How do we stop this? We stop this if we supply Ukrainians with long-range rocket artillery, which means that when they do this, the Ukrainians can fire back at whence it came. And then the Russians will get the message and they will stop doing this. But until that happens, then the Russians will continue to kill peaceful civilians going around business. It was a holiday here, as it is across the whole of Ukraine, and the killing will continue. So, for God's sake, we've got to help these people.
Now, why did the Russians target this drama theater with an Iskander missile? And unfortunately, a group of civilians organized an exhibition of drones at this drama theater. Now, Russia's going to claim they killed 50 top NATO commanders, and this was a huge military success. But the truth is, there were no Ukrainian military at this drama theater. It was entirely civilian organized, trying to give an exhibition and give demonstrations of the use of drones. Now, we all know what these drones are being used for and why Ukrainian civilians are so interested in them. So all around, this was incredibly foolish of the organizers to hold this event 40 kilometers from the border, where Ukraine's air defenses in Kyiv didn't have enough time to intercept this missile. I'm sure the organizers of this event are horrified, but Ukrainian civilians have to be smarter. They can't publicly hold an event like this and advertise it, because if the Russians find out, they will not hesitate to strike a hospital, a school, a drama theater. It's all military targets according to the Russians. So killed in the attack, officially 7 people. One of them included 6-year-old Sophia. Here's a picture of her with her parents, forever 6 years old. This picture really got to me. This is a photo of a Ukrainian man whose wife was killed in the attack, and he's choosing to hold her hand and stay with her until her body can be collected. So I randomly found this tweet I want to share with you from Mikhailo. He states, "I live in rural western Ukraine. Last year in March, people here were preparing to defend themselves with hunting rifles and Molotov cocktails. The idea that they would give up now because the counteroffensive hasn't proceeded with the speed that some foreign journalists expected is absurd." So there's lots of talk in the Western media basically playing the scoreboard. Are the Ukrainians winning? Are the Russians winning? Is Ukraine's counteroffensive advancing at the pace it should be? And I'm not Ukrainian, but from what I hear and read from Ukrainian citizens, the pace of the counteroffensive is irrelevant. They don't have any other option. There is no peace agreement or settlement that they could get from the Russians that they would ever trust. Russia will come back for more in 2 years, 5 years, 10 years. So their only option is absolute victory, complete liberation of all their territory. And whether the West wants to help them or not, they will carry on. To me, this is inspiring. I'm always going to be advocating for additional support, but I can't control the United States government. I can't control the governments of Germany, France, the United Kingdom. Hopefully, Western aid and Western support will outlast the Russian economy, the Russian government, Putin's regime, but it could take a while. So what kind of insane, nonsensical stuff have the Russians been up to? And here's a video of a Russian Orthodox priest blessing a new monument to Joseph Stalin. So since Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine, especially the last year and a half, opinion polling showing favorability towards Joseph Stalin has been increasing, with Russians erecting new statues and monuments glorifying this mass-murdering, genocidal dictator. Why? Stalin ethnically was Georgian. He was never the leader of Russia. He was the leader of the Soviet Union, and doesn't the Soviet Union no longer exist? And for a priest of the Russian Eastern Orthodox Church to be blessing a monument to Stalin, let me remind them that Stalin tried to stamp out religion in the Soviet Union. Here's just one of many quotes. By May 1st, 1937, there should not be one single church left within the borders of Soviet Russia, and the idea of God will have been banished from the Soviet Union as a remnant of the Middle Ages, which has been used for the purpose of oppressing the working classes. Joseph Stalin hated religion. He killed priests. He destroyed and burned churches, carrying out decades of terror against Christians within the Soviet Union. So for a Russian Eastern Orthodox priest to be blessing a monument to Stalin, why? And the answer is the FSB controls the Eastern Orthodox Church of Russia. Patriarch Kirill is a former KGB agent, and the only thing they use religion and the church for is to justify this war, support the Putin regime, and keep the genocides going. Here's the real reason why Russians all of a sudden love Joseph Stalin. Because by 1950, he had built one of the largest, most powerful, and successful empires that ever existed on this planet. The Soviet Union, through communism and their proxies, controlling all the peoples and countries of Eastern Europe and Asia. This is what the oligarchs of Russia, what Putin himself looks at and says, wouldn't this be great? Why can't we return to this era of glory and prosperity for the Kremlin. What else is going on? Depressed Gherkin is probably going to die in Russian jail. According to Gherkin's wife, his health complications are deteriorating in Russian prison. Surprise, surprise, Gherkin might not make it to his trial in September and might mysteriously die in jail. This is both good news and bad news. The last year, I've really appreciated Gherkin's criticism of the Russian military and his honesty how bad this war has been going for Russia. This is what Dmitry at War Translated has to say about Gherkin maybe dying. I don't know about you, but Gherkin rotting in his own country's prison is the best outcome other than him ending up in The Hague. Gherkin's a mass murderer, he's a terrible person, he should be brought to justice in The Hague, but he's not going to make it. Admittedly, I sometimes overlooked his past feats due to his helpful doom posting, which we all enjoyed, but he's part of the enemy, one that is driven purely by ideology, so his own country getting rid of him is a gift given twice. What else is going on? Russia's Luna 25 spacecraft crashes into the moon. This is both sad and hilarious. I'm a big proponent of science and technology and the exploration peacefully of space, but that's not Russia's true intentions. Russia wanted to launch this moon lander to demonstrate to their people that everything's fine, that Russia is a great superpower with a successful space program. So after delaying this moon mission for 2 years, they finally gave the go-ahead. They wanted a propaganda win, successfully landing something on the moon, but, technically it did land on the moon. It just landed a little bit faster than they were hoping for. Here's a tweet from Darth Putin, the parody account. The moon is to blame for Russia's Luna 25 attacking it. It should have declared its neutrality, ceded territory, and stopped flirting with NATO. It's the internet, so of course people are going to make memes. It's all in good fun. We've got good news for Ukraine. U.S. confirms F-16s are going to be provided via third-party transfers. This is just a formality, President Biden approving this. This has been in the works for months, and of course they were going to be approved, but it's official. President Zelensky went to the Netherlands to meet with their prime minister and see the planes that will eventually be transferred to Ukraine. The Netherlands is announcing 42 F-16s will be transferred. Denmark has also announced 19 F-16s will be provided. I do think the eventual goal, it might take 2 years to get to this number, but I think the goal is to have about 300 F-16s sent to Ukraine. And for fun, let's get a video of President Zelensky getting into one of the Dutch F-16s. This is going to be a nightmare for the Russians, coming between January and March of 2024. Final couple of feel-good clips. The first one I have is a Ukrainian defender who made his own trolley.
Киборг выполняет все боевые функции, включая носчика. Может вести контакт. Вот. И если носит ваши вещи. То есть хорошая функциональная вещь. Всего лишь она обойдется во 1200. Охуенная цена. И плюс живораб. Он может воспользоваться, блядь. Вы можете.
If it works, it works. This is war. Final clip I have for you is the Japanese man who's been living in the city of Kharkiv for the last year and a half. I've actually shared some feel-good clips from him in the past. His name is Fuminori Sushiko, and he's been operating a cafe that he opened with his own money, where he's been providing 1,000 free lunches a day to anybody that wants a free lunch.
Ja, luminarisko. Many similar shots, friach, lokiv, ja, japanet. Harkovi, nas, frasuya, beskostubuni, cafeteri, FuMi Cafe. Shodonia nadaetsa, T-sage, beskostubuni, ovidif, narodo, Ukrainian. Furthermore, to judge the pedocurimuc I Rasposjania FuMi Cafe Slava Ukraini. Jaku.
He's just the sweetest man who ever lived, and in the past people have asked me how can they send him money, how can they donate to him. This is his Twitter page, but it's all in Japanese. I do think I found his Patreon account, so I'll link this down below if you want to become a supporter. Once again, I think this guy has just been using his own money to feed people for free for a year and a half now. Wonderful man. That's all for this update video. Glory to Ukraine, glory to the heroes. If you found this video informative, give me a thumbs up. Best way to support the channel. Comments and questions, let me know down below. I love hearing from you guys. Till the next video, keep defending the truth, keep defending democracy.